Welcome to Fawley Refinery and Chemical Plant. This induction film covers the 2016 turnaround event. In 2016, we are shutting down many of our refinery units for a short period in order to carry out inspections, maintenance, and install new projects on our site. We'd like to make this event an unparalleled success for you and for Fawley that will be remembered as the benchmark for turnaround events for years to come. We hope you'll enjoy working on our event, and as a team we can deliver a safe, on-time and budget event. We've put much effort into planning and selecting the A-team contractors in order to make this a very successful turnaround event. We've asked your company to select their A-team too for us. And you're here as a key player to achieve nobody gets hurt. Together we're responsible for each other's safety, so please concentrate on the important messages that are contained in this induction film. And if you have any questions or require any clarification, please speak to your supervisor or ExxonMobil representative. This event covers 5 of the main business teams and will include the pipe stills unit, reforming units, lubes units, utilities, and offsites tankage and piping areas. The following film will give you all the information you need in order to safely work on our turnaround. Please give the turnaround induction film your greatest attention, as the messages and information we'll give you will help to keep you and your workmates safe. We'll ask you to confirm your understanding of our rules and systems by completing a test at the end of the film. If there's something that you're unsure of or need help with, please ask either your supervisor or an ExxonMobil employee, and they will be happy to advise you. As a company, we believe solidly in nobody gets hurt, and we consider that we have the best systems and rules to ensure this is achievable. Whilst you're working and visiting our site, we want you to go back to your families at the end of the job in the same way you came in, safe and well. Turnaround team goals. As a turnaround team, we've set our standards high. We believe that the objectives of our turnaround are simple and can be easily summarised. As a Fawley team of maintenance forces, process and contractors will together target these goals. 0 injuries, 0 incidents, 0 environmental incidents, 0 community complaints from our neighbours, 100% open and honest sharing culture to ensure that we achieve reporting of all incidents to ensure that everyone learns from them. Maintenance plus process plus contractor equals one team. One set of safety, health and environmental goals and one common plan to get to nobody gets hurt. Life-saving rules. Following on from your induction, we outlined the 4 site life-saving rules. You'll remember that they are working at height, work permits, energy isolation, control of defeat of critical devices. We consider these to be the most critical set of rules we have on the site. In fact, they are so important they are literally life-saving. In addition to these rules, we have many other rules that, although not life-saving, if not followed can result in serious injuries or incidents. We want to use our rules, systems and our behaviour as the main barriers to prevent incidents occurring, not rely on luck. Turnaround event tools. At Fawley, you'll understand that everyone uses a behaviour-based safety system called the Loss Prevention System, or LPS. The LPS system comprises 7 main tools. We truly believe that the LPS system, which encourages open and honest sharing of all losses and near losses, is the best way of safely managing safety at the site. We also know that to fully train everyone in all the LPS tools to get the best from them takes time. Because of this, we're going to share 2 of the main LPS tools you can use most effectively, and in addition have developed expectations with very clear outcomes in order to keep you and your workmates safe when on the site. The tools we'd like to share with you are LPS Safe Performance Self-Assessment, LPS Loss and Near Loss Reporting, BEST, that's Basic Standards and Expectations, BEST Skills Practical, Risk Assessment, Field Observation Tools. These tools will give you the best possible information and define the expectations for you to comply with the site standards. We'll now give you some more information on each tool. SPSA. The Safe Performance Self-Assessment, or SPSA, is a mental risk assessment tool that you, the job experts, should use continuously on the job. The SPSA methodology encourages continuous assessment of the work risks before, during and after the work starts. The SPSA is a mental process done by all of us throughout the day. This means we would like you to think of the risks of even getting to and from the job. We'd like you to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? The SPSA encourages you to mitigate any risks that you encounter to the point that it is safe to carry out the work. If you cannot mitigate the risk, you must stop what you're doing and report the hazard to your supervisor, who will advise you what to do. We share our SPSA thoughts with our colleagues, other trades and supervisors who come into the field. After all, you may have spotted a hazard that they haven't. We call this sharing, a touch, and it's the best way of confirming that the worker has considered all the hazards and risks associated with the work. If during a touch your SPSA is considered to be not continuous, or you have not mitigated a hazard, we believe that coaching to underline the correct behaviour is the best way of demonstrating the correct expectations. The SPSA method asks you to assess, analyse and act each hazard or situation so that you assess the risk, analyse how to reduce the risk, act to ensure that the mitigation is put in place before you start work. We call this process the 3 A's. Near loss and loss reporting. Near loss and loss reporting is a way of sharing incidents so that they can be investigated in order to determine the actual root cause to avoid repetition on the site. Reporting near losses and losses is all about sharing an incident or experience to avoid reoccurrence. How often have you thought, wish I'd known about that, before it either led to an injury or an incident? The near loss or loss is a free lesson for the rest of the team, and sharing may prevent an injury or dangerous condition. Basic expectations and standards. Best. As we suggested earlier in the film, because we have had previous incidents that have led to dangerous occurrence or injury on the site, we have developed some simple common sense rules that we expect everyone to adhere to. Specific training on these rules will be given prior to starting work. How will BEST work? We are so convinced that the failure to obey the BEST rules will result in an injury or incident that if you repeatedly fail to observe them, you may be removed from the event. We cannot tolerate, and there is never an excuse for not following BEST. Remember, these rules are based on learning from previous incidents at Fawley and other sites. For every BEST violation, your supervisor will investigate and, if proven, record this BEST violation. Your company buddy manager will review and mediate any contentious BEST violations. The first self-raised BEST violation will not count towards exclusion. Sharing is encouraged. BEST Skills Practical. In addition to showing you the BEST rules in this film, we will, as part of your induction, ask you to participate and show your understanding on our BEST Skills Practical rig. We think the practical approach to showing the BEST rules will improve the communication of them and underline the expected behaviours that we all must follow. Using the BEST Skills Practical rig is also a good opportunity to highlight any areas where you require clarification with our rules. We all need to demonstrate the correct behaviours from day one of our turnaround event and not wait for an incident to occur before we correct the behaviours. Risk assessment. In order to reduce the risks associated with more complex tasks, we use documents that highlight risks in order to lower and mitigate them. These documents are Task Risk Assessments, TRAs, and Job Safety Analysis, JSAs. A JSA is a tool used as a job aid in order to help individuals identify hazards in the work activity. TRAs are used for documenting the steps of higher risk tasks and reducing the risks to a low level with mitigation steps. Observation. Both the JSA and TRA documents require the job steps to be followed and no changes to these steps without manager or supervisor review. In order to check that the work practices in the documents are understood and followed, we may observe the task being carried out and record the percentage adherence to the document and the work practices being carried out. The feedback from the observer is given to the work team away from the job face. This process underlines the positive behaviour observed and also can identify areas for coaching of the work team or improvement of the document steps. In summary, we have explained why we need to use some existing site tools and some new targeted safety tools on this turnaround event. The tools that are outlined must be understood and followed rigidly by all the Fawley team working on the turnaround event. We hope that they provide a clear set of expectations that make it easier for us all to comply with the site rules. We'll now cover some of the more general expectation and information that you'll need when you work on the site. Previously, we spoke mainly about the expectations that you'll need in order to keep you safe at Fawley. Short service workers. We don't expect anyone to understand every Fawley rule at once. This would be impossible. In order to help new-to-site workers acclimatise to Fawley, your company will have prepared a graduation plan based on basic site knowledge. When your company thinks you have enough knowledge of the site, you'll be allowed to do certain tasks without a buddy or mentor being present. After this induction, technicians and supervisors will each receive a safety guide. Along with outlining key site information, it also allows Contractor and ExxonMobil supervisors to test your understanding of the site rules and also leave feedback on their interactions or touches with you. As a short service worker, you'll be expected to wear an orange helmet or hat stickers. This will identify you as a new or vulnerable person. Contractor Supervisor Screening Protocol. If you're going to be carrying out the role of a supervisor on the site, there is a very important process that you need to be taken through by your site manager. This is the Contractor Supervisor Screening Protocol. This ensures that prospective supervisors have the right experience and knowledge to carry out the responsibilities of the position. Intervention. We ask that if you see an unsafe condition or behaviour when you're on the Fawley site, that you don't walk past it. You make an intervention to question the activity or unsafe condition. Please never walk past an unsafe act or condition. It is your duty to intervene. Talk to the individual or work group concerned. If you don't feel comfortable with this action or you don't receive a satisfactory response, you may want to let your supervisor intervene or follow up the response on your behalf. Emergency response. You'll remember learning from the Fawley site induction video that each block has its own distinct emergency alarm and muster points. You must take the time to familiarise yourself with the tone of the emergency alarm, where you're working, and where the muster point is. See your local induction card for details. Remember, if you do hear the emergency alarm, switch off any powered machinery and move immediately across the wind to the muster station. Remember, the nearest muster point is not always the safest due to the wind direction. It's essential that before you start work in an area, you familiarise yourself with the emergency facility locations such as muster points, safety showers and emergency telephones. You must also tag in or sign in to the area that you're working in. This is to ensure that you are accounted for in an emergency. Signing in books are usually located in the permit offices, and electronic tagging stations are located at convenient entry points to the units. Incidents and injuries reporting procedure. All incidents and injuries must be reported immediately. Report directly to the First Aid Centre that is located in the Central Maintenance Building with all injuries. If you believe that the casualty is injured beyond first aid and should not be moved, contact the site emergency services and they will attend the scene. How to contact emergency services? By pressing 1 or 9 on a plant emergency telephone, you'll be connected to the emergency services. Call urgent, urgent, urgent on the radio. Try to give clear and concise instructions of the incident and the location, and return to the casualty if it is safe to do so. To summarise, so now you know what is involved for you to achieve your part in Nobody Gets Hurt. If you think you could become one of Fawley's A-team players, but you need some more clarification, or if you didn't understand any aspect of our expectations, please speak to your supervisor or an ExxonMobil member of staff. They'll be more than happy to help. During the rest of this film, you'll be shown some of the more general site information that will help to keep you safe during your work at the site. General plant hazards. Fawley is a large site with many different process streams that can be flammable, toxic or corrosive. It also has a number of other plant hazards that are common in the refining industry. For example, these include high pressures in equipment, hot surfaces and pipework. We will highlight in this section some of the general hazards that are common within Fawley. However, it is essential that before you start to work on a particular block or business team that you're taken through the local plant hazards. A brief overview of the local plant information is included in the Fawley Induction Handbook, but a specific plant induction will be given to you before you start work. This will give you more details of the specific hazards and safety information related to the plant you're working on. In summary, here are some of the site hazards that are present on the Fawley site. Asbestos. With Fawley being an old site, many of the pipes and vessels are clad in asbestos insulation material. Although there is an ongoing program of removal, many pipes are still insulated with it. Most asbestos lines are marked, but if you do find a material that you think may be asbestos, report it immediately. Asbestos may also be present in some older type joints and gasket materials. If you're unsure of the gasket material, treat it as asbestos and deal with it accordingly. Chemicals. You must also be aware that many of the pipes carry substances that can be harmful to your health or are flammable. You must obey permit procedures for opening pipework in order to comply with COSH and to contain any spillage. Acid or caustic. Some plants have areas that contain corrosive chemicals, such as acid or caustic. These areas are surrounded by red lines. Remember, to access these areas, you need to upgrade your gloves and glasses to gauntlets and goggles. Never assume that a puddle is water. Many dangerous chemicals are clear in appearance. H2S. Nearly all the refinery has process streams that contain H2S, hydrogen sulfide. H2S is a very toxic gas with a smell of rotten eggs. Most H2S lines and vessel flanges are marked with light blue paint. H2S can asphyxiate in relatively low levels and will quickly remove your sense of smell. When on site, you must carry an H2S detector and escape respirator. It's also imperative that you know how to use the respirator. You must also be familiar with how to wear it. It's no good trying to learn in an emergency situation. Running or live equipment. You may be working in an area where there is equipment that is still operating. You must assume that all process equipment is live and contains energy until proved otherwise. And to work on it, you must have the relevant permit to work. Remember, hot pipes can remain hot for hours after isolation. Ensure all equipment is adequately cooled before opening. They could contain hot water or residual substances. We'll now give you some information regarding systems and policies that are important for you to understand prior to working at Fawley. The Fawley Permit System. Fawley uses a work permit system to control work being carried out anywhere on the site. Control of work at a refining complex like Fawley is critical because of flammable and toxic material that is stored and processed. The main content in a permit is to outline the work that is being carried out, the area it is being carried out in, and authorising signatures of the process team who are responsible for the process unit. A permit may also reference checklists, attachments and procedures that are necessary for the work team to carry out the work safely. Permits are mandatory. All work requires a permit to be in place. There are very few exceptions. Permits must be read and understood with any special conditions followed. The permit must be displayed at the job site. Personnel carrying out work should know what is required by any documents that are referenced on the permit. As a contractor, you need to have completed training and received a red or green card showing your authorizations in order to sign sections of the permits. Remember, working without a valid permit is a breach of the life-saving rules. There are 4 main permits to do work at Fawley. Equipment disjointing permit is required when breaking into or opening all process systems. If a breakpoint is not identified by a numbered tag which matches the number on the permit, then it should not be broken under any circumstances. A hot work permit is required for any task that will generate heat, as well as the more obvious ignition sources such as direct flame or sparks. General work permit, used for lower risk tasks that fall outside of the 2 previous permits mentioned. This can include preparing for those tasks. General work area permit. Where a lower risk task is unlikely to be a source of ignition, the general work area permit can be used. There are 2 other key documents and a series of other checklists which can be attached to permits depending on the work. Confined space entry permit. This is not a permit to work. It is a permit to enter a confined space and will normally be accompanied by either a general work or hot work permit in order to do the work in the confined space. All entry points will be numbered and barried off when not in use. Do not enter a confined space or put your head or torso inside a confined space manway without a valid entry permit. Your life could depend on it. Electrical isolation certificate. Permits to do work may reference required isolations. You should apply your personal padlock to the location identified on the electrical isolation certificate. In a turnaround situation, a controlling supervisor may padlock on your behalf, in which case you will be informed. Rigging and lifting. Because you may be qualified to carry out lifting and rigging activities on another site, this does not automatically qualify you to execute lifting activities at Fawley. All personnel carrying out lifting activities must be fully qualified and competent in the safe working practice. In addition, they will need to have passed the SWP knowledge test. You will then be added to the list of approved riggers. Lifting includes work with cranes, high abs and also chain blocks. It is essential that lifting areas are barriered off to prevent entry and potential walking under a load. At Fawley, walking under a load is not allowed under any circumstances. Confined space entry procedure. You must never enter a confined space without an authorised confined space permit. This is a permit for entry only, not to work. Confined spaces are subject to rigid entry procedures that ensure that all people entering are accounted for. In addition, confined spaces always have a ventilation plan and a rescue plan posted adjacent to the entry. Environmental awareness. ExxonMobil prides itself on its environmental policy and standards at Fawley. In keeping with the outstanding marine and forest area where we operate, we strive to keep our emissions and waste to a minimum. When you're at Fawley, you'll need to play your part too. We have appropriate skips for most materials: metal, wood, cardboard, general waste and compressed asbestos fibre gaskets. We even have orange HiPod type oils disposal units for oily waste and contaminated PPE. When disjointing pipework and equipment, always consider what residue could be in the line. You must use a drip tray in order to catch materials that are released. There are appropriate disposal points on all the turnaround event units. We need to ensure that we use them correctly. Housekeeping. We also ask that your workplace is kept in a clean, safe condition. All materials and waste items are stored appropriately and all waste cleared quickly from the site. We call this good housekeeping. A tidy, clear unit will give you more room to manoeuvre and work. Poor housekeeping standards are unacceptable and affect everyone and have been known to contribute to injuries and incidents. Remember, be a negative polluter. Clear rubbish and waste items from the site. Don't leave it. Safety recognition. We also have programs in place to recognise and encourage the positive behaviour that you show. We want to recognise good performance and also, as we put it, going the extra mile for safety. You can receive a safety recognition for a variety of reasons, from making a situation safe, reporting an incident, or coming up with an innovative safety suggestion. Thank you for your attention during this turnaround event induction film. We realise that we have conveyed a lot of key information during this film. In order to show your understanding of the information, we will now ask you to complete a test. Again, if there are any aspects of the film that you require help with, please don't hesitate to ask. It's much better to ask the question than find out the hard way at site. We want to make sure that we are all aligned to the safety standards that everybody needs to work to achieve, ensuring that nobody gets hurt.